Our final guest is a comedian, writer, and a free bleeder. She performs all over the city, but you may have seen her on Check Please, which means she is Chicago famous now. She's the founding writer of Drinkers with Writing Problems, cast member of the Kates, founder of the Windy City Rollers, and possibly the reason your parents broke up.
Yeah.
Catch her next at the Chicago Women's Funny Festival, and put your hands together for Elizabeth Gomez.
Can you guys give it up for Andrew and Eden? And all the performers tonight, everyone's been awesome. I feel slightly intimidated because not only have I never written a novel, but I also didn't finish college. What? Thank you. I'm a winner. Okay. If the phrase beef curtains has ever confused you, you've clearly never seen my pussy. I would say that my beef curtains would be a multi-layered stage production with a dazzling display of wrinkles and folds that would reveal a delight that you would never forget and most certainly would want to return to again. This is an attitude that I've cultivated over many years of study, experimentation, and an endless amount of reflection. I'm talking about mirrors, you guys. I grew up in the 80s and in the height of the nerdy, white cis male fantasy. Every music video had a scantily clad blonde woman sporting bikini bottoms that rode high on their hips and covered their long, flat derrieres. Each movie or television show was about men being motivated by wanting to find a woman, fuck a woman, build a woman. And without realizing it, my brain was being washed into believing that the ideal woman, the beautiful woman, a woman that was worth loving, was someone who was not me. She was young, tall, blonde, bone-thin, with a cute button nose that by itself could make a man lose control in his underpants. I was totally the opposite. I was chubby with frizzy brown hair, and I had a nose that spread so widely across my face that I could swear I could feel my nostrils hitting my earlobes. And looking in the mirror, I knew that in order to get anyone to mess with this bag of tricks, I had one option: personality. Personality is the perfect explanation of why incredibly hot women always ended up giving into those nerdy, pesky, stalkery kind of dudes in all the movies, even though their behavior was completely deplorable. Endless shots of young men peeking through walls in locker rooms, drooling over topless photos, panty raids, feeling up young co-eds as they slept, and offering up the opportunity to cop a feel on a girlfriend in exchange for a few dollars. I mean, they were disgusting. But God, I really wanted to be one of those women they wanted. And I knew if I could find a way to create the right amount of charm, like Lloyd Dobler with his long, stumbling speeches, or find that swagger and confidence of Harry Burns, or even maybe if I could just save enough money from my part-time job at the 99-cent theater to buy a DeLorean, I might stand a fighting chance of being the object of a man's affections. And over the many long years behind me, I have dedicated my energy into being charming, brash, and super easy. Really easy. Buy me a taco, call me pretty, and I'll be on my back before we leave the table. And I learned to accentuate my good features so that even if a man didn't find me attractive, at least he wasn't running out of the restaurant because of my face. And why did it matter that any man found me attractive? Because growing up in a world where men wield all the power, I knew that the security and livelihood of whether a woman could have a happy and safe life truly rested in the hands of men. Not only had I felt like I'd seen enough of that to believe that, but my mother reiterated that message. She was a Korean immigrant, raised in a culture that where having a son mattered more than having a daughter. And when you're given a girl, it was your burden to make sure she got married. I'm not sure that she understood the ramifications of her thinking. Subtle actions and words that made it clear she didn't understand that toxic masculinity seeped into and distorted our woman-to-girl relationship. Her disbelief that I, a woman, would have the nerve to leave home on my own was devastating to her. When I apprenticed as a car mechanic, she was scared because my man job would leave me with dirty hands. And when I had my daughters, she met each and every one of them with this joy. Well, you can try again. Even over a decade after leaving my ex-husband, I watched my mom during my daughter's 8th grade graduation lean over me and my current husband to tell my ex-husband that she was sorry that I left him. That I was shameful, and despite his actions that led to the divorce, she was very, very apologetic. And it's ironic that this woman, who was so fearful that I would never get married, would be apologizing for the fact that I've been married twice. Marriage is something I didn't want, and I never thought I would, but getting laid was. So back to personality. Holding the male gaze, enticing and flirting with potential lovers, breaking hearts was a real big goal of mine as a teenager. And I knew that I wouldn't get there with this face, and I read all the Cosmos, Glamours, and Marie Claire magazines about how to charm my way into a man's heart. Step number 1, make direct eye contact. 2, use your smile to tease. 3, don't be afraid to touch his hand, his shoulder, or maybe his thigh. 4, ask them about themselves. And 5, leave them wanting more. At this point, I'm so good at flirting that I don't even notice I do it. I love it so much that I have just become to define myself by it. And that's 45 approaches. And this had to learn to love it face begins to sag. This hair begins to be gray. And my beef curtains begin to droop into the orchestra pit. It really does hurt to see myself disappear. Men aren't interested in aging women. I hear it from my older friends as they exclaim, "It's great to be invisible." But is it? I mean, is it great when you've spent your whole life trying to be what men want just to have them dispose of you? Why do I even care? Why do I put so much value on being wanted by men and stretching out so far to be noticed? Because I am conditioned to do so. On one hand, I'm a feisty feminazi screaming, "Fuck the patriarchy!" And on the other hand, if I saw a 27-year-old guy who just complimented me on my dress, I would completely melt. And while other girls and gals embrace aging, I would drink the blood of newborn goats for one less wrinkle and one less silver strand. As empowered and brave as I want to feel about aging, I hate that we have to use the words empowered and brave when discussing the aging of women, which is a completely natural thing to do. And men get to be handsome and distinguished when they get old, and women, we get to be invisible. This is a language we use in a society where men make the rules. Young, tight-bodied, childbearing women matter. Old witches with dust bowls for uteruses don't. Men get to have midlife crises and marry 20-year-olds, while dried-up hags get to keep the house and add 8 cats. Frankly, I don't want to be invisible. I don't want to be haggy. I don't want to have cats. I want to have cabana boys and a midlife crisis and a convertible. I want to wear leather pants and sparkly halter tops to dance to Bad Girl Riri. I want to be 60 and thrown against the wall, being passionately kissed by a 40-year-old person who thinks that my kiss was the only way that they can breathe. And I want to tell you that I'm super psyched about aging out, but the truth is I'm really, really scared at the idea of not being seen, especially because I've worked so hard to be seen. And this poison, this dripping and oozing of impossible standards like "don't get old, lady," is gut-wrenching, and it tears me up. Embracing the disappearance of my body and myself while I'm still here and I'm still alive can't be the only choice. Can it? Thank you.